Hello everyone. Welcome to Gardening for Better Health. This is Henry B. 723 coming to you today from my kitchen that is doubling as my garden for now. Welcome everybody. Welcome to all of the viewers and all of my subscribers. Thank you for stopping by. Today I am doing something that I'm glad to finally get to. This is the last uppotting of the tomatoes that I started earlier this year. Earlier this year, I started tomato seeds and some other seeds, waiting for them to get big enough over the next few months so that I'll be able to plant them outside after my last frost date. So January might seem too early to start tomatoes, but they're indoors under grow lights. And they grow slower when they're indoors under the grow lights than they would if they were outdoors. And I can't put anything outdoors here until last frost date for me is the first week in May. So I get a jump on it by starting things indoors. People have been asking me, how do I step it up from one pot to the next and what size pots I use? So I will tell you that so that if you want to follow along and do some for yourself, you'll know what I used, and if you want to use what I use, that's fine. If not, use whatever it is you choose. But I started them out on January the 19th in this pot that's 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches deep. So it's not a very big pot, but it has enough room for the roots to actually get well established in it. They were in this size pot for a month. So that was January 19th when I planted them. And then on February 23rd, they had outgrown this pot. I knew they were going to do it, but it took them about a month or so to get to the next size to be uppotted again. And when I took them out of this pot, I put them in this pot. And the size on this one, if you're following sizes, it's 5 inches wide by 6.5 inches deep. So that's the size they stepped up to. Now they've outgrown this one and they're ready to go to their final potting place. I'm stepping them up to here. This pot is 9 inches wide by 8.5 inches deep. So as you can see, it's not a huge pot, but this is going to be the largest pot that they need to finish their growing cycle. So I have put in this pot so far potting soil, and I'm using Pro-Mix potting soil for these tomatoes. I started using Pro-Mix this year. I'm not sure yet if I actually like the Pro-Mix. I will see by the time these tomatoes finish growing if I can find a difference in quality of the tomatoes since I've switched to the new seed starting mix. But that's what's in here now. As I get ready to transplant these, I need to put some amendments in this seed mix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some bone meal, and I don't prescribe to any particular brand. This just happens to be the one that I have on hand. And for these pots, I'm going to put a level teaspoon of this bone meal in the soil, and I'm going to make a little divot in here. And I'm going to put this bone meal around in the pot. And I'll do the same for this one. I have a total of 6 tomatoes that I need to transplant, but I'm only going to take you along for 2 because the process is the same regardless to how many tomatoes you do. So that's the bone meal that's in there. And this is a good source of calcium and phosphorus. I'm also going to do a little bit of blood meal. Blood meal is very good for nitrogen, and so that's what I'm going to put in here next. And I'm going to put, about a tablespoon of the bone meal, of the blood meal in here. Do that for both of them. Okay. So that's all of the amendments that I'm going to put in there at this time. I'm going to stir this around so that the roots will be able to come in contact with this as soon as they're planted. They'll have some food waiting on them. All right, so now these plants are going to be transplanted. Now with this one, these pots are plastic. They're firm plastic, but you can bend them a little bit pliable, so that I don't have to pull so hard to get the plant out. Okay. Now, and I've got some roots that are hanging there. The root structure is solid, so I'm going to make a hole in here to put these roots in. And I'm going to bury it deep because, as you know, with tomatoes, and I'll show you with the other tomatoes have a root system that is actually accessible throughout the stem. So you bury it deep so that you'll get much better roots and the plant will be sturdy. So I've got that one in there. It's buried nice and deep. And if you can see, there are little hairs on the stem of this plant. Those little hair things are actually roots. So the deeper you bury it, the more root structure you will have, because the roots will have contact with the soil and start to grow. So that's that one. I'm going to put this one aside. I have some smaller saucers for this, but my saucers are in storage and I didn't want to go outside, so I'm using this bigger saucer for now. So we'll put this over here. And here's my little tool. I've stirred that around. So now I'm going to make another hole and bury this tomato plant deep. There. All right. There we go. Cover that up. Now I buried it deep and I'm covering it over the top of the dirt that I put in there. So it's in there nice and firm. All right, and I can move this one out of the way. So now that I have those in there and they're buried well, I'm going to put a little bit more dirt on top of this, because as I tamped it down, the dirt level at the top decreased. So we'll do this one. So what about you? Are you having a good day today? Have you planted anything yet? My friends that live in southern states that I have been in touch with have told me they have had things in the ground that are doing well. So it would really be nice if I was someplace where I could plant these tomatoes just one time in the early part of the year and not have to transplant them so many times. But we work with where we are and what we've got, right? We do the best with our particular situation and go from there. So that's that one with more soil. Now, another thing that I always like to do, I'm going to give this plant some support. I have cats that run around here and they hover around my planting table over there, and when they do that, their tails are going swish, 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 and sometimes they hit the plants that are sitting on the lower level and they disturb them a little bit. So because I know my cat's routine, I'm going to go ahead and give them some support. Even though these don't grow to be super tall, I'm going to give them some support. So I have these little clips that I ordered from Amazon. These work really well to support and keep the plant in spot. So I'm going to do this. 2, and it just clips on there to hold it in place. So that's what that one needs for now. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'll put it on this side. There. And that way I don't have to worry about my cat's tails knocking things over. That one. Now, these are supposed to be harvestable in 65 to 70 days. So that is not going to happen for these plants because they have been indoors, and the light and everything indoors is not as strong as the light that's outside. So oftentimes indoor plants don't grow or mature as quickly as they should due to the conditions indoors. They will mature, they just will mature more slowly. So I will probably be able to harvest from these plants in another 30 days, even though it's already been a while. They do have little flowers on them that are not open yet. So I do see the flowers on here. They're just not ready to open. The last thing that I like to do with all of my plants is to mulch. And I'm going to mulch these with rice hull. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about these. It's the rice hulls. I got these off of Amazon, and they're not really expensive, but they do a good job of holding moisture for your plants so that they don't dry out so fast. And so I like using the rice hulls. It's all natural, okay, and biodegradable, but it keeps the soil from getting very, very dry too quickly. So that's what it looks like with the rice hull on top. And I'm going to do this one too. So I like being able to do things indoors when it's cold outside, because you know, oftentimes you really feel like I need to do something. What do I need to do? Let me find something to do. Something constructive to do. And it fights boredom, and it fights not being able to go outside when you want to and you get antsy. So that helps. This gardening indoors helps with getting antsy in the wintertime, and the things that you can do to have fun are limited due to the weather. Indoor gardening is a good way to exercise your thoughts in positive directions. So now that I've gotten these potted up, I'm going to water this in. Here it goes. And the rice hulls barely moved in terms of displacement. If you water carefully, you really won't displace the rice hulls too badly. Here's that. And we'll go do this one. So these tomatoes should grow to be happy and healthy and very productive because they have been fed. I first fed them when they were at 2 weeks old. I gave them some liquid fertilizer, and then at 4 weeks I gave them their initial bone meal feeding, and now they're getting their third set of food. So listen here, tomatoes, you have no excuse not to be healthy. So that's where I am for today. I'm going to be planting my indeterminate tomatoes soon, but I didn't want to start those too early because once they get to the point they need to be transplanted, it needs to be warm enough for them to go outside, because the indeterminate tomatoes don't know when to stop. They just keep going and going and going. So I'll plant them probably sometime this week, and I have some more things to start indoors as well. But thank you for coming along with me today while I do the final transplant on these Tiny Tim tomatoes. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and please stop back soon to see what else I have going on here. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.